Joining me now, as she often does, editor-at-large with Red State, Kira Davis. Kira, obviously we have a lot to talk about tonight with kids and Thanksgiving and everything else, but really we're just doing a show about everything we're thankful for, everything we're grateful for. There's enough dark news out there, certainly enough dark news out there. So let's begin with the most important thing. What are you most thankful for about me?
I'm most thankful that I don't have to have Thanksgiving dinner with you because I feel like it would be like the crankiest Thanksgiving dinner ever. I would be talking about my road trips. You would be insulting road trips. I would be talking about all the fun things that I like to do. And you would be talking about how you like to kill fun because you hate fun. It would be,
I just want,
I don't
I
that's
just
so
want to, I want you to, you have the floor. You have the floor. I want you to clarify, Grandma, why do you like road trips? I mean, is it the people cutting you off? Is it 8 hours in between destinations? Is it the gas station food? Please tell me the part you love most about road trips.
Well, I feel like I don't have to justify why I love the road trips. Why you don't love road trips? Road trips are great. You get to see a lot of the country. You get to have spontaneous experiences. I love to pull over when I see like a historical spot or something that's interesting.
Uh,
Places you've never seen. Oh my gosh, Jesse, were you born a cranky old man?
true story, Kira, just keeping it brief here for the interview purposes. Just went dove hunting with my buddy and his sons and my sons, and we were let him drive on the way down there, and I had to drive on the way back 5 hours. And I gathered all kids before we left on the way back, and I said, "You remember all those bathroom breaks you got to stop for under Nice Guy? This bathroom you're by right now is the last one you're getting, so I suggest you go drain it here." And guess what? We made it all the way back 5 hours, record time, Kira.
Good for you, Jesse. It sounds like you're a lot of fun on the road.
All right, Kira. Kids and Thanksgiving. In all seriousness, I know you are a parent who loves your kids. I am the same. What do you teach your kids about Thanksgiving?
Well, we usually go by what the first Thanksgiving proclamation from George Washington said, which is this is an establishment of a day where we collectively and corporately give thanks to our Creator for the provisions He's given us in this country. So in my house, Thanksgiving is really centered around what we're grateful for, of course, with each other. It's also centered around taking a few moments to just recount our blessings. You know, it doesn't, every day is a complaining day in America. Every day there are grievances that are aired, there are people with issues. And for my kids, we always emphasize this is the one day where we all sit down together and we don't complain. We don't point out all of the flaws about each other and our home and this country. And we don't talk about the things we wish we have and had and the things we don't have. We talk about the things that we do have. We talk about the blessings that we do have. Our forefathers saw fit to establish an official day where we all just stopped and took a corporate breath and rested in a spirit of thanksgiving to our Creator. I know there are a lot of people in this country who might not believe in a Creator, but the principle still stands. There's value in us as a nation taking a few moments, a few hours together, one day of the year, just to say thank you, just to recognize all the great things we have. So that's how we focus here in the Davis household.
Totally agree. And piggybacking on that, couple things I do with my kids, not that anybody needs to copy me as the parent. I try to every night go pray with my boys, and I make them before we pray tell me one thing they're thankful for, big or small, and then we thank God for it when we pray. And on Thanksgiving, my mother, speaking of what Kira does, used to do this thing. I hated it as a kid, and now I appreciate it a lot, where she would write every letter of the alphabet on a piece of paper, and she'd drop it all in a hat, and she would hand it around, and you got a letter, and she would just keep handing it around. And every time you got a letter, whatever that letter was, you had to say something you were thankful for that started with that. And that was something we did at everything. And I hated it. And every time she pulled it out, I rolled my eyes and, oh, this is so stupid, Mom. And now I'm absolutely making my kids do it this year, Kira.
Well, that my kids hate it when we do the whole like go around the table and say what you're thankful for. Like everyone rolls their eyes. We all did it. But this is the whole thing about establishing tradition. This is the whole thing. We talk all year long, Jesse. You and I talk about how There are people who want to do away with the traditions of American society, do away with the traditional foundations. We don't need them anymore. They aren't relevant anymore. But this is how you establish thankfulness. This is how you establish a generation of people who appreciate what they have. You don't let them decide what you're going to be thankful for and when. You don't let them decide that some traditions and some ways of doing things are wrong. They don't know any better. Kids are idiots. So it's up to us to keep establishing tradition, because what happens is we end up with people like you, Jesse. Sure, people who are horrible and hate road trips, but also people like you who can look back and say, okay, I was annoyed by my mom, but what it did was it really instilled a sense of normality for me around the concept of Thanksgiving.
Kira, I'm not under the impression parents hate their kids. I know there are some evil parents out there, obviously, which is terrible, but it's my general assumption that even communists love their own children, which is unbelievable. But why do you think parents try to pass misery down to their kids instead of being grateful or feeling blessed? It almost seems like sometimes it's intentional, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I would say part of this is we might call it socialism. I call it the spirit of envy, which has sort of permeated American life these days. I think there's always a temptation for people to look around and say, hey, I don't have as much as that other person. And there has to be an explanation for it. That's not any problem with me, because I don't want to have to be the one responsible for my own prosperity. I think we are sort of driven to blame other people for not having all the things we want. That's human nature. And I think the story of America is us sort of fighting against our worst nature to come closer and closer to what we think the Creator had in store for us. And that's why we have days like Thanksgiving, where we do take the time to recognize that there is a Creator who made all this and provided all this for us. So I think part of it, I'm with you, Jesse. I don't think like there are parents out there like, I hate my kids, I want them to be miserable. I think there are parents out there who feel bad about the things they don't have, who wish they had more, who might feel bitterness that someone else has more, and they haven't quite grasped the real, true tradition of America, which is the fact that this country doesn't really owe us opportunity, but our country in and of itself is the opportunity.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.